We're here in Grad 250. We're working on Project 2. This is the Grad 250 Project 2. I sent you the directions. So the directions talk about how this is going to be a show exhibit catalog booklet, and this will be a collection of a few of your best group portfolio ready projects in a booklet form with a designer statement. You'll do some research and discussion on your team's theme for your design skills. You'll create this InDesign, Photoshop, and Illustrator skills set to include in your booklet. And this will represent your work. Your idea is to design this as a group and brainstorm for a common theme. You'll look at also the technical aspects of typography solutions. You're going to have to all agree on the same type of fonts that you'll use, the tracking, the kerning, the size. So all of that will have to be shared with one another. You'll also create a common vector graphic of your logo depicting your skill sets, or you'll include your logo into the booklet. The booklet will be a standard four-page booklet of your work to print 8.5 by 11, and this has a fold in the half, so you can see that these are like little mini booklets that people will pick up at the show. You'll have a cover, a back, an inside cover, and a back inside cover that will have the theme of your show work. The primary purpose of this catalog booklet is to identify and introduce the viewer to the group's portfolio show as they enter the showroom. So you'll need a logo or symbol that identifies you as a group. That'll go on your group poster and as well as the group booklet. So you can see in the past, these are what the students have created. And I'll just zip up here to these images. These images are also up on Blackboard. So one had a game of design, and it was shaped like a design template or for gaming. One utilized pop art to depict her work. One was a stop and start, and one had the file or the title Destiny Infinity for the graphic design show. So these are just a few different project covers. So the booklet should be easy to read. You're going to want to choose your font that will allow the viewer to easily read your information. You'll want to avoid italics and font scripts that are hard to read. This will be your 4.25 by 5.5, which is 8.5 by 11 with a fold. So your grading rubric will look like this: a logo with maybe a mini resume or your artist statement worth 10 points. Your booklet layout design is 40. Your graphic college project examples are 30, and your text are 20. This layout will be appropriate for your portfolio for exemplary quality, examples of different portfolio show booklets. And I'm going to fix this. This should be your artist statement. I'm sorry about that correction. I don't know how that resume got in there, but that'll be for your Grad 250 Project 2 project. So examples of different show booklets. I got some visuals. Each make a different design, and one piece is chosen for the book theme. And then a poster is created on the design theme. In this case, it was One Night in Ahu. And then you can apply this to local online newspapers, Facebook, Twitter to promote the graphic design show. And you can send it out to high school students if they're interested in graphic design. So it's a way to draw people in to appreciate your talent as well as share with your family and friends for the purpose of this show. So that show actually is a mini project that you'll see in week 7. You'll get the directions for that, for actually creating a show. And that is something that you want to kind of think about today as far as the dates and where you'll have it and the time. Generally, it runs during the class time, and you coordinate that with the dean and the facilitation of finding a room in the building that you can set up your artwork. Okay, so we're going to go through and set this up. So we'll set up your booklet, and we'll go File to New, and you can create this as a document. So this will be in inches. This will be landscape. We want to have minimum of 4 with so we'll want to have 4 pages, which comes out to 2 pages front and back, because each page will be divided in half. And then we'll have a column in the middle. So I'll go ahead and create this. Okay. So here's my 8.5 by 11. I'm going to drop a guide at 5.5. So this will be my gutter. And I'm also going to drop some guides on either side of this, because this will be my I really don't want my graphics to fall under this. Now, each one of you is making this booklet, so you're going to have to determine where your pages will stop and start within the booklet. So you'll have to consider this as a folded book. So you're going to have to create like little thumbnails and decide how your 4-page booklet will work. I included the cover on this booklet as well for your testimonial. So if you create a mock-up of this and you fold a sheet of paper in half, you can see that this page, this facing page, will be your cover page. So this page will be the page that you'll want to start on, and you may want to start with your name and maybe a graphic or an icon. So we'll just make some placeholders here for your logo. Now, I don't know what that logo will be, but we'll just create some placeholders. So you'll have your graphic here, and you'll have a type of artist statement. So here will be your artist statement. And you're going to want to think about what it means to you to be a graphic designer. So you're going to want to, kind of elaborate on that, and that'll be very important to your work. So the big problem is once you kind of come up with the information that you want to put in there, you're all going to want to come up with a common theme of type. So I might have all of my titles as a group. You might want to say that all your artist statements are done in Arial. You want to try to create a common theme within this book that usually shows unity and a defined concept in your creativity. So that's kind of very, very important. If I do something to this type, like say I want to put an arch on it, or turn this into a outline, and then put maybe an arc on it or something to do something a little bit different to it. I can go through and do the different steps on creating, working with this type to creatively put it maybe in a different format. So when you create an outline, you can do different aspects to it. So this is very much like Illustrator for the bounding boxes and around the object. I'm going to undo this, and I'm going to keep this as the same for now. Here's going to be my icon or my logo, and then I have my artist statement. So far we're done with page 1. This will be the back page of my content. So I may want to include some imagery, and we're going to go to File to Place. And I have some images on my desktop, and I'm going to look for I'm going to sort these for my file management. I'll sort, and I'm going to look for all of my maybe PNGs or JPEGs. And here they are. So I have this bubble girl that we worked on yesterday, that I worked on yesterday in a class for a project. This will be maybe an example of Photoshop. So I'll want to write a little blurb about this project and what I did to create it. And this will demonstrate some of my key points will be layers, masks. I applied non-destructive workflow. So a non-destructive workflow is when you work with Photoshop and you use a mask to keep the information, as well as a destructive workflow. And then that is using a eraser tool to erase some pixels. So I just wanted to demonstrate different ways to create this design. So layers, masks, we use stock photography on here, stock photos, and those photos were found from Upsplash. So this was a website of free usable images, and that's how I created this little graphic here. So if we chose 18-point Arial, excuse me, I have a hoarse in my throat here. I apologize for that. We're going to want to change this to Arial, and we chose black. I'm going to try to keep this consistency throughout my project. If I'm centering, I'm going to want to center. If I'm going to write a little blurb here, I'll want to put this in. This is what, Minion Pro. I've got Minion Pro. And I want to reduce this and put that off to the side. We always want to do a spell check, Command I, to go through this. It has a problem with the word workflow, so I could choose another workflow with a hyphen and change that, or I could add that to my dictionary. And I can put this, what can I do with this? Center this if I want to, or flush it left or flush it right. to help with laying out that information or put in bullets or numbers. So if I wanted to, accent that information. So I can put a couple images on this back page, and then as a group, the class will have to decide on type. I may want to utilize type that's common, like a common theme throughout my project. So I could use this blue, and I could actually load that blue into my swatch. So if I open this up, let's see, what do I want here? There we go. So now I have my swatch set up. And I only want that in my type. So if that is a type that I want, the type of swatch, stuff out of the way, I can go ahead and refine my booklet here. And I have these all in bold. Now I have this in an outline. I don't want that outline, so I'll put that to none. Flip that. This is none. Okay, so now I'm going to put a different graphic in here, another photo image. So again, that's file to place. So the big important part about this project is having your files in a meaningful location, and you're going to want to put your best pieces in here. So some of these might be opening up your files. So I'm going to open up Photoshop because I have a couple Photoshop files that aren't saved as a JPEG yet. And I'm going to want to add those JPEGs into my file, into this project. So I'm going to open those up, and I'm also going to have to open up Illustrator because I know I have some files in Illustrator, and I'm going to want to go through and make any corrections or revisions as needed, and then turn them into a JPEG to be able to place them into my booklet. So these would be your best and favorite pieces, maybe the pieces that you've learned the most on. They could be your marketing strategy pieces, maybe a corporate booklet that you created where you took a screenshot. I did with my class, we did a corporate brochure. Brochure might be added into the final one might be added in. So on portfolio projects like this, you may want to open up these files as PDFs and maybe take screenshots of them. So place that information in your booklet. So let me get back to this, and I'm going to save this right away. So this will be my title for my book, will be my project 2. Show, and then I always put in the class that it's for, and you may even want to put in your last name to make sure that your files are usable when you have to share them with another student. The recent files, place those pictures into your booklet. My eternal spin on my Photoshop. I'm not sure why this is taking so long, but I'll stay here in this booklet till that sort of resolves itself. So you might want to have a page of Photoshop. We're going to drop a line in here to find our, so 5.5. We'll also place these grid lines in. And view to hide rulers or open rulers, or you can do Command R to bring up your ruler, and then you simply just drop and drag your files down. So here, so I have this on my desk. I'm going to do a screenshot real quick. Command-Shift-4. And I'm going to grab this logo. So I took that right off my dock. And I'm going to go ahead, Command-Shift-4, grab my InDesign, Command-Shift-4, screenshot for my Illustrator. Now I had those downloaded already from my from an online with a little bit better quality, but to save time here, I'm just gonna that's my logo that I want. So then this will be my Photoshop page. I'm just going to jump back from program to program. So I could, this is my cat and rider. I'm going to just drop and drag this. This will be another. So this is really giving me quite a time today on what's happening here. I'm going to place this a Photoshop or Photoshop document. It'll make my InDesign file a little bit bigger because, of course, that's an editable file. I'm going to hurry up and wait on this machine today. Modify my choices as soon as I can to try to speed up this computer because I really don't want these programs open while I'm on the internet. Plus, I'm doing a QuickTime video as well. So this is really causing some slowdown on my computer. I found that the Adobe Illustrator being open is just a huge memory and RAM problem because it's taking so much information. So I don't know what this is doing, but so I'm going to do this. I'm going to close down Photoshop, and I don't want these saved. So I really want Photoshop just to release some of that memory because it's causing a lot of problems. And I'm going to do this. So if you're having slowdowns with this at this point in your design time, some of it could be for the reason of having too many can't resize. There we go. Finally it popped up. So there we go. So now I can have that in there, and I can go through and resize my image design and my Illustrator. So I'll pop some illustration in here, and let's see what we got. So on my desktop, oops, that's not there. That's not what I wanted. So my quick preview allowed me to look at my picture. I'm going to go back through. I think I have a PNG of this. Zoom out. I got this giant file here. I'm going to resize it. So I could resize it on the desktop too, for sizes. But I'm just going to see. So a right click here allows me to resize my picture. Here's an example of Illustrator. So I can fit content proportionately, and I'll remove this box. So here's an example of what you can do. This was a COVID. I did this for the COVID illness with a sugar skull with a mask. So I would want to write a little blurb about this particular project. And here would be my COVID sugar skull. So here I could write how I utilized the pen tool. I use gradients. Put these in bullets. Layers. And I'm going to want to put these in the correct font. So I would go back up here. This is my Arial bold 18. We're going to want to keep this Arial bold 19. And you get the idea of what you have to do with these pieces. So of course I have a lot more to place in here. This might, I might want to move this around. This might be underneath this graphic. And I could put a couple more up in here. For InDesign, I have some examples of InDesign of screenshots. So I believe I have one on my desktop. It was just so I'll want to click on kind, and I have some. I'm looking for some PDFs. I may or may not have one up here, but I'll have to open up a file created in InDesign. So I'll open up a project. Not sure if this is the one. And this was a template. So I'm going to go through and look for the file that I want to include in here. Not to have to go through all of this. Here's a newsletter I created. Not to have to go through all this. You might want to have a folder with all of your major classwork that you potentially uploaded to ePortfolio, and that would help you be super updated. So here's a brochure that I do for a client. And this is just on layout. I don't think some of the font might not be loaded into this computer because it was created on a different machine. So I'll just try to get this font kind of straightened out. Now, in this case, if I just ran pre-flight and went through here with my missing type, this can help me find the problems. I didn't have 57 errors on my computer that I created this for because I save this as a newsletter every week, but I could set this up and maybe even do a screenshot of this. I don't know if this will be my best work here to showcase, but you get the idea. So this is a layout of some of my work. I really don't want to have these icons showing up that type is missing. So if I was to capture this picture, I would want to choose font that I have. And I changed the view to overprint preview so that it takes out some of those grid lines that I like to use. And then this gives the idea of what you can do with information. I just want to find a good page here. And I can take those screenshots then and place them into my the piece that I'm doing my resume on, or my portfolio. Here's the portfolio show one. So I could do a placement of that file to place and place in that image. So these are all kind of low res. And then we'll want to fit this, fit content proportionately, and I could write up a little blurb about this particular project. So I'm going to copy paste this. This will be a newsletter. And this newsletter is saved as a PDF for mailing. It demonstrates gradients and layers, image sizing. And you get the idea of what you have to do. So that in general is the layout of your booklet. If, as a group, you decide to modify your books, maybe you want to have a gradient that you all agree on for color in the background. And you apply some of that to your work. You're going to want to kind of go through this as a group and decide how these gradients will look, or you may want to keep them or create them in another program. So if you pop any color in here, maybe you tint it, you have a light tint to it, and your text shows up. That would be one example of adding color to your background. So I'm going to just move this color. Scroll this over. And then this will share. I'll just add a different background here. That was not moving for me. And I'll place that in my layers. Close some of this material down here. And I'll put that in the back. Another successful color that I just put this in black. I did have a student who had a really dynamic booklet printed in all black. So this would be something that you could do as well, is set your book to black. It's kind of a nice way to look at work. It makes it for a challenge to read information if your printer isn't very clear. But as an e-booklet, this might look kind of sharp. So color choices are very important. You're going to have to decide what your blacks will be or what your colors will be, and that can really pop information off your page. These text boxes would have to be placed in white. You're going to want to work on this project as a group. If you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to ask. Send an email. Let me know what you think about this and how soon you can get this to me. All right. Well, that kind of concludes this session. So thank you.